Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. For this video, I thought it would be fun to do a side-by-side pose-for-pose comparison of Samson Dauda and Keone Pearson now that we know they're going to face each other at next weekend's Prague Pro. There's a couple of caveats here. Obviously, these are all pictures from the Olympia, pose by pose. I think we expect that Samson is going to look better at this Prague show than he looked at the Olympia. I think we can also expect that Keone is going to look different, possibly better, fuller, bigger than he looked at the 212 Olympia because he doesn't have to meet a weight restriction to get on stage. And I think I also want to add the caveat that this is not excluding Martin. I think I'll probably do a side-by-side of Keone and Martin as well because Martin could just as easily win this thing as Samson and Keone. But I think that Samson and Keone is the interesting comparison here. Because Samson has won the Open Olympia. Even though he was fourth at the Olympia this year, he has won the Open Olympia. Keone's won the 212 Olympia 3 times now. And so if Keone beats Samson, even if Samson was slightly off at the Olympia, even if he's slightly off in Prague, whatever the case may be, Keone beating Samson is a huge momentum shift for Keone's open bodybuilding journey and what he decides to do. So if Keone beats him, I think it's a really big deal. So we're going to go pose by pose. Now the NPC News Online has uploaded all these pictures, HD from prejudging. We're going to start out with the front double bicep pose. And for me, this is one of Keone's best poses, maybe his best pose. I love this pose on Keone. Honestly, I don't know if anybody in the Pro League looks better than Keone in this pose. Everything about him in this shot, his structure, his shape, the wide flaring lats, the V-taper, the shape of the biceps, the detail in the arms, the detail in the lower body. This is a fantastic pose, head to toe, for Keone. So I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I would actually give this pose to Keone. And of course, another caveat. We don't know how they're going to look, what type of condition they're going to be in. I think, condition aside, even though we're just comparing how they looked at the Olympia, I would give this pose to Keone almost no matter how Samson Dauda looks. Now, it's a great pose for Samson, too. Head to toe, pretty good pose, great structure, great V-taper. I don't think he hits it as well as Samson. I don't think his biceps are as peaked or defined as Keone's, and I don't think his legs look as impressive as Keone's. And again, he was off at the Olympia, admittedly, so that's a good caveat to add. But in these shots, I think Keone's taper is crazier. His lats look wider from the front. His shape is crazier. I think the legs look more defined. The arms look more defined. The shape of the arms is better. Just overall, I'm giving this pose to Keone. And feel free, let me know what you guys think as we're going pose for pose. If you agree or disagree what poses you would give to who. I think this is probably going to be, I've said this in the last video, I think this is probably going to be one of the most exciting shows of the entire 2025 year. I absolutely am on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait to see this showdown because I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. Is Keone really as good as people say he is, as I think he is? Is Keone really going to be able to come in here and slam the door and say he is the best pound-for-pound bodybuilder in the world? Does he come in here? I mean, imagine that scenario if he comes in here and dominates Martin and Samson. If it's just not even close, I mean, imagine how that's the biggest bodybuilding story of the year by far. And when I was texting Keone before the Olympia, I made another bet with him. I made a bet with him a year in the past. I think it was the first year that he won the 212 Olympia that I would add $5,000 to his prize money if he won the 212 Olympia that year. And then I gave him the $5,000. So this year we have a bet. And I told him before the Olympia, if you win the 212 Olympia and win Prague, I'm going to start giving out a Bodybuilder of the Year award. It's going to be like a nice custom, like championship WWE style title belt. And I told him if you win the 212 Olympia and you win your open debut in Prague, you are going to get the first ever Bodybuilder of the Year award presented by my channel. Because I think, and now especially with Samson in it and Martin in it, if Keone wins that show, I think there's no argument that he's Bodybuilder of the Year. And maybe I'll do a vote too. Maybe I'll think about what I want to do, but that was my bet with Keone. So if he wins both, he's going to get this custom award from me for Bodybuilder of the Year. And I guess maybe Derek could be in the running for winning the Arnold Pittsburgh and in the Olympia But I think if Keone does this, now that Samson and Martin are in it, it's even more impressive than what Derek did, to be completely honest. But I just do want to put that out there publicly because I did make this bet with Keone, and I want him to hold me to it if he wins both. He's going to get a really nice championship-style belt, bodybuilder of the year. But the next pose, the front lat spread. This is an interesting one. Again, it's very similar to the front double bicep. It shows off both Keone's and Samson's strengths and structure. Honestly, you guys are going to think I'm biased and glazing Keone here. I'm giving this pose to Keone too. When you think about what the front lat spread pose is, showing off the lats from the front. Of course, you're considering the whole physique from the front, but showing off the lats from the front. Look at how visible and massive Keone's lats are in the front lat spread pose. Look at how much they add to his shape and his taper in this pose. Samson looks good in this pose too, but I think you're seeing a lot more lat from the front than Keone. And I feel like when you look at the arms, the chest, it seems and this was the issue with Samson, and I'm sure he's going to look better at Prague, but it seems like Keone has more fullness all around. Even the delts, everything looks more full, and again, down to the legs. I think Keone's leg separation looks a lot better than Samson's here. I'm going to give the front lat spread to Keone. Now, let's move into the side chest pose here. Now, this is a tricky one because normally this is one of my favorite poses of Samson. I think he's really strong in this pose. I think he has a much fuller chest than Keone, even when he's kind of flattened out here. This is usually a great pose for Samson. And again, I want to mention, I think that Samson will be better and fuller at the Prague show because he looks pretty flat and kind of has that thick skin look here at the Olympia. But it's not a bad pose for Keone either. I mean, Keone's chest is not as big and full as Samson's, but you're seeing more detail in that back pec. I feel like the shape of the arms, again, there's more detail, like a little bit more fullness to the shoulder. But then Samson is just so much bigger in this pose. And Samson's side leg here, honestly, I think looks better than Keone. So I feel like in the Prague show, this will be a pose that Samson should take. So even though in these pictures I think it's a bit closer because Samson was so off, I think at Prague, this will be a pose that Samson takes. I'm going to give the side chest to Samson. Now, moving into the back double bicep. So for this one, just a little footnote here. I'm using a picture of Keone from finals. Up until this point, I've been using pictures of Keone from prejudging, but I feel like his back double looked a lot better at the finals of the Olympia. I feel like Samson's didn't really change much, but I feel like Keone was a lot tighter in the lower body here. And again, see, this is why I think people will be surprised by the potential that Keone has in Open and the potential that he has in Prague to beat Samson Dauda. And again, there's going to be a size difference that doesn't come across as well in the scale of these pictures. Samson is trying to come in at 300 pounds for that show, and Keone is going to be more like, I would imagine, maybe 220, maybe a little heavier than that. So we are going to see an almost 80-pound difference between these two guys. So these images are obviously not going to be to scale. But when you look at the head-to-toe completeness, I think Keone's back is much thicker and denser, especially that upper back. I mean, look at the traps. Look at the fullness of Keone's delts, even compared to the fullness of Samson. And Samson has huge delts. He's a big guy. But just look at the fullness of Keone's delts, the density in the traps in that mid-back, the density of the lat. I feel like he looks wider than Samson in this pose. And then you go down to the lower body, and again, this is from finals where Keone brought in the glutes and hamstrings a little bit better. The glutes and the hamstrings and just the size of the lower body proportional to the upper body and the detail. I feel like his glutes are tighter than Samson's. I feel like his hamstrings are more in than Samson's, and they look bigger from the back than Samson's. And granted, I think Keone will be bigger at the Prague show than we saw him at the Olympia. I'm going to give Keone the back double by, man. I know people are going to call me a Keone glazer after this video, but genuinely, I think when you really look at this pose, this is another pose. I think it honestly goes to Keone all day if Samson looks like this Olympia version, which, again, I don't think he will. I think he'll be better. But Olympia Keone so far is beating Samson 3 poses to 1. That's how I've got it so far. And I mean, to give it a fair shot to Samson, let's move over to the back lat spread here. I will give this one, I'm going to use a picture of Keone from prejudging where he clearly was not as tight in the glutes and hamstrings. But again, just illustrating the width from the back. And we're never going to know until we see these guys actually side by side who looks wider. But in a picture-to-picture comparison, and I even scaled up Samson's picture here because Samson is the much bigger guy by about 80 pounds. I feel like I still would give this one to Keone, man. I mean, Samson's glutes and hamstrings here, they also don't look as dialed as Keone's. But when you look at the hamstrings, I think Keone's hamstrings are a little bit more corded and separated than Samson's here. And I feel like the back looks denser. And I hate to say it. Actually, I don't hate to say it because I think it's legit. I would give this pose to Keone too. And again, we're going to see the actual scale of these guys at the Prague Pro. But I think when you compare these pictures, and this is why I said, like when I did the prejudging pose for pose video for Men's Open, I said it's really hard to make a case for Samson. Out of those four guys, Samson, Derek, and Hadi, and Andrew, it's hard to pick Samson in really any of the poses. I think it was that bad of a showing for Samson. I would give this pose Olympia Keone versus Samson Keone, even Keone off at prejudging. I'm giving that pose to Keone. Now, moving on to the side tricep pose. Again, I really like Samson from the side, and I feel like he's going to look better if he fills out for this Prague show compared to the Olympia. I think Samson is going to take the side tricep here. I think Keone's midsection from the side at this Olympia was not looking great. I still really like Samson's side leg here. I feel like here it looks a little bit more feathered and defined, and that glute hamstring tie-in looks a little bit more visible. The tricep, I would say Samson's tricep does actually look fuller and maybe better than Keone's. Keone has a little bit better of a horseshoe, but Samson's tricep looks a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this pose to Samson if he improves for the Prague show. I really like Samson from the side, and I feel like it was just because he was downsized and flat and off that he didn't have the same effect from the side. But when Samson is on and he's big and bursting full, those side shots are hard to beat for Samson. I think Keone is really strong from the front. Samson is a guy that's really strong from the side. So now I have it 4 poses to 2 in favor of Keone. Now, let's move on to the abs and thighs pose here. Both these guys like to hit the vacuum pose for their abs and thighs. So let's compare the vacuum pose. Keone looks amazing in this pose. Keone with a vacuum, again, the wide flaring lats from the front, accentuating that V-taper. The arms overhead look fantastic here, really separated, really 3D. I'm going to be honest here, as big of a proponent as I am for the vacuum pose, as much as I like it, I don't like it on Samson's physique. I don't think it does him any favors. There are certain physiques where I think the vacuum pose looks good, and I feel like Keone's is one of them. Samson's not so much. And again, look at it head to toe. I feel like the arms don't look as good as Keone's overhead. I feel like the lats don't look as flaring from the front. I don't think the V-taper is as accentuated. I don't think the abs are as deep. I don't think the legs are as defined. Again, shockingly, I'm going to give this pose to Keone. Now, let's get into the final pose here for all the marbles, the most muscular. Honestly, I'm going to give this one to Samson. I think Samson would definitely take this pose in Prague because, again, there's a lot of caveats to this comparison video. We're comparing pictures. There's going to be size and scale that we're not going to be able to tell from these pictures. If Samson comes into Prague at 300 pounds, I feel like his most muscular will look a lot more impressive than Keone's, and Keone's will look narrow. Look at the fullness of Samson's chest, his traps here, the size of his arms, the size of his delts. I feel like his legs look a little bit better in this pose too. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where the size is really evident and just the width and stage presence of Samson in this most muscular. And I think Samson's abs look better here. I think Samson will take the most muscular pose in Prague. And I think in these pictures, he takes it as well. So I've got it 5 poses to 3. Keone with the front double bicep, the front lat spread, the back double bicep, the back lat spread, and the abs and thighs. Samson with the side chest, the side tricep, and the most muscular. And again, there's going to be things that are different on stage. There's going to be scale. There's going to be size difference. They could be in different shape than how they look at the Olympia. But comparing Olympia Keone to Olympia Samson, looking at these HD pictures from NPC News Online, I've got Keone 5 poses to 3. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think it is entirely possible that Keone could beat Samson at the Prague Pro in just 1 week's time. And that's what makes it so exciting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.